Community is a mixture of freedom and boundaries. You are free to drive your car on the motorway, but if you drive it too fast, you may well be stopped and banned from driving in the future. You're free to choose what you want to wear each day, but if you come to church wearing nothing on a Sunday, we probably won't let you in. When we're at the beach, my children are free to throw stones into the sea, but if they start throwing them at each other, Daddy is going to be annoyed. Freedom and boundaries. I guess if you lived in complete isolation, you could, in theory, do whatever you wanted to. But that doesn't work when we live among other people. And as we were thinking about on Sunday, humans are designed to live in community, to have relationships, to love and be loved in return. The picture painted by Genesis 1 and 2 highlights freedom and boundaries for the people that God had made. They are free to eat of the plants in the beautiful garden. They are blessed to be fruitful and increase in number. They're free to rule over creation. But God puts boundaries and structure in place too. They need to work the garden in order that it might produce the food that they require. Whilst they're free to eat almost all the produce of the garden, there's one tree they're not allowed to eat from. God doesn't prevent people from being disobedient. He doesn't make them work the garden, though if they don't, there might be little to eat. He doesn't put a fence up around the forbidden fruit. He doesn't restrict our freedom by placing boundaries that we cannot cross. Rather, much like speeding down the motorway, there are consequences for disregarding the boundaries. The Bible is incredible. It's a God-inspired book. And one of the things that it does for us is to set up this framework of freedom and boundaries. It shows us the freedom that we have as people to choose how we will live. It speaks of the freedom that we have in Jesus, that he has won for us on the cross, meaning that we can be free from sin, free to have a renewed relationship with God and with one another. But the Bible also sets before us God-given boundaries, the boundaries of those relationships we're to have. It's there in its teaching, in its commands. In the example of Jesus, we are shown how to live. In the stories of God's people throughout the Bible, we see examples of what happens when people live according to those God-given boundaries and what happens to them when they don't. This week at Whitley Bay Baptist Church, we are all trying to complete some challenges around the theme of being a church family. Thinking about what it means to live in a loving community. And it's those freedoms and those boundaries which set how we live together. God set up this world of freedom and boundaries. The boundaries are not merely designed to impede our freedom. They are designed to show us how best to live in community, how to have loving relationships with God and with each other. We might not always like the boundaries that God has set. We might not always find his commands easy, but they're designed to help us flourish. They are built into the very fabric of creation, and you are free to ignore them if you like. But I know whose way I'd rather live.